everyone, Liz Collin here. Thank you for joining us and welcome to Liz Collin Reports, a place for truth and meaningful Minnesota conversations. On the podcast today, you know his work here on Alpha News. We know his sense of humor, too. His cartoons appear daily on our website. A.F. Branco joins us from his home today to talk about how, as it says on his website, he slays dragons of leftist lunacy with his razor-sharp humor. We'll get into his background, what he sees as Minnesota's biggest problems, and his take on what comedy and satire have turned into today. Thank you so much for being with us. You said it's okay if I call you Tony, right?
Absolutely.
I know that you live a little ways away from Minnesota, smart guy, but we sure do give you plenty of material, I feel like, from these parts to be able to pick up your pencil, Tony. You must kind of feel like you live here, but I know you in fact, did at one point.
No, I've been there a couple of times. I took it when I was working for a corporation years ago. I took a class there. It was a couple of years, a couple of weeks. But
it sounded like to me that you lived here for being there for a couple of weeks. I got you. Okay.
Yeah. Now, but I don't know if I'm all that smart because I live in Washington State. So I think it's jumping from the fire, the skillet into the fire in a lot of ways. But I'm akin to what's happening in Minnesota because a lot of what's happening in Minnesota is happening across the nation.
And talk a little bit more about that, speaking of plenty of material, in fact, where you live now, but also you're a California kid. Give us a bit of your background.
Oh, well, I was born and raised in Fort Bragg, California. Lived there until about my junior year in high school. And my mom and dad had divorced years prior. And she decided to move up where her family was. Did the remainder of my high school there, joined the military. Was in the military for about 3 years. Back then they had 3-year terms. Was in the military MP Corps, military police corps. Got a job because jobs were really, it was around the Carter administration and things were really bad. So I picked up a job at a sawmill and was kind of playing music on the weekends and that type of thing. And I started drawing cartoons at the sawmill about just local issues that were going on with the employees, the employers, and I was having a lot of fun with it. The sawmill was having a lot of fun with it, and it's kind of where I kind of honed in and cut my teeth, believe it or not, at a sawmill, of all things. Eventually, it
sounds like a country song already, but yeah, that's what's interesting. You didn't set out to do this.
No, I eventually, right after the sawmill, I got my own business, graphic business, screen printing and graphic. I come up with some really good designs for stores in the area. The spotted owl thing was going really heavy at that time, logging. Anti-loggers were coming out, and I was kind of pro-logger designs, and they did really well. And I just kind of moved into just all-out graphic designs. And I did that for about 11 years and was kind of playing around. That moved into the Clinton years, and I was kind of dabbling in cartooning, but not really taking it too serious and not really getting too involved. Just I would throw a cartoon out once in a while, and the internet was just getting engaged. I don't think there was a Facebook yet. There wasn't much of a social media, but I did have a website. And then I kind of put it on hiatus for a little while. Then when the Obama administration became fully engaged with trying to take over our healthcare, I had to have a way to vent. I had to have a way to express myself. And by then, social media was engaged. And it, I started out with just a few followers. And then it just slowly moved into what it is now. I think right now on True Social, I have about, 120,000 followers. And I thought I was doing great in the beginning, just having 20 that were paying attention to me.
So back then is when this kind of became a calling, as you say, Tony.
I think so. It started out as a way to vent. And then people were appreciating my venting.
You realized other people felt the same way.
Absolutely. Build it and they will come, I guess, is the kind of the mantra there. But it's just kind of growing from there. I put out the way I feel about the politics and the issues of the day, and people seem to appreciate it.
I think, it would be nice to talk a little bit about your creative side, because many of us don't really know how this works. We're like, hey, this is fun. This guy gets to draw cartoons for a living, but you have to kind of commit to a lot of these characteristics early on for these characters that you feature. But talk about that. What goes into deciding, which features to really highlight? I know we love President Joe Biden. You do Obama so well. Tim Walz here in Minnesota. Those eyebrows are amazing, but just talk about your creative process.
Getting the characters down, something that you can live with, and they sort of evolve. I start out with them looking a certain way, and then over time, I hone in on some of their characteristics. With Obama, it was his ears. Pelosi, Biden. Is pretty much an easy target right now. I put him with an empty bubble on his head, a little bit of blood on his hands from the Afghanistan thing, the sippy cup, those things. Once you start putting those in the cartoon, people expect them. So I hear about it if I miss something.
How long does it take for you to complete a cartoon? I guess you're a digital cartoonist.
Well, I was drawing on paper and then scanning it in. And that was taking, it was an extra step. The thing nice about paper is that you got to actually hard copy that you can stow away. But because I became pretty busy, I just started drawing right on a tablet. And that took out some time in the process. So it's still manually drawing with a pen. Because basically what I was doing is I was drawing on paper, scanning it in the computer, and then adding shading and color on the computer anyway. And that's what most all artists do as far as cartooning goes. And
it can probably just depend on what you're drawing as to how long it takes.
Yeah, so how much information, how many objects are in the cartoon, how involved. I try to keep my cartoons simple as possible because the message is more jumps off the page a little better. If they have to read a lot of stuff and have to see a lot of things on there, kind of, to me, takes away from the objective of getting that particular point across.
Do you ever have writer's block or cartoonist block, I guess, in your case, or is there just so much? I would think there's so much, especially now that you're maybe up at night with a million ideas at once.
Well, actually, yes, I get. I'm a victim of it just as much as anybody else, and it's hard to jar out of it at times. But you're right; there is a lot of material to work off of. Sometimes I just have to go into a quiet room, close my eyes, and try to see something a little bit humorous, and try to find a way to present it to where people can get it and enjoy it and want to share it, and make sure that it stays true to what I want to present, how I'm feeling about a particular issue.
I would think that would be hard because it's kind of like if we weren't laughing, in some cases, we would be crying, and you have a lot of weight on your shoulders trying to depict that.
It's threading the needle sometimes because there are issues. There are things that you just can't be funny about. In recent days, we've seen a few of those issues pop up. So you have to be a little bit more serious, try to find out what the objective is. What point do you want to put across? For instance, the gun issue right now is very hot. And I want to put across my personal preference is before you talk about gun control, before you talk about anything, you need to protect those kids, because if you're just talking about gun control and talking about gun laws and all that, you're not really serious about protecting kids. So first thing I feel we need to do is to protect or secure those schools and protect our kids. And then you can talk about the rest of the stuff.
So this is some heavy subjects, obviously, so you have to be careful about sometimes balancing that to get the message across. Talk about Minnesota politics. I think a lot of us are curious for your hot takes if you will. But, a lot of big races coming up across the country, including here in Minnesota in November. But, you have that outsider insider perspective. What direction do you think that Minnesota is headed in this fall?
I really don't know. I think the whole nation as a whole, and Minnesota is definitely a big part of that, is leaning to the right. Now, how much to the right Minnesota will go, that's hard to say. But I enjoy Minnesota politics because it is reflective of a lot of what's happening in the nation, going back to George Floyd, the riots. All of that was a big part of Minnesota, but it was also a big part of the United States. And the United States, the entire nation was looking at Minnesota. So people begin looking at Minnesota for what was going to happen to them. It used to be the phrase as California goes, so goes the nation. Well, for a while there, it was what happens in Minnesota, so goes the nation.
Maybe you wouldn't be heartbroken if you didn't have to draw Governor Tim Walz past November.
No, I like drawing Tim Walz. He's like so many left-wing governors, and I think he needs to be truth to powered, and that's what cartoons are, is showing truth to power, I believe. So I don't know what type of guy he is. I've never met him, but some of his politics go against mine.
And let's talk about some of those current cartoons that you've had out this week, since you obviously are do such a great job keeping up with current events. As you said, lots of material, but we're going to show one here for our viewers. A few heads pointing back there to January 6th, not wanting to face the long list of things right in front of them, but that perhaps deserve much more attention. But yeah, talk about this one.
Well, the point I believe in this cartoon is that you're right. They don't want to talk about the disaster they've created with at the Afghanistan disaster, inflation, gas prices, and I have a whole list. They're sitting in a swamp. Basically, that's what comes out of the swamp, a lot of disaster. And I believe that the Democrats, their policies don't work. And they have nothing to offer other than to point fingers at the Republicans. See those dastardly Republicans over there. They look what they did on January 6th. Go back to January 6th and not look at what the problems that we've created.
We also have the Prime Minister of Canada making a point with his flag, even his button that he's wearing in this cartoon, Tony.
Oh, the I love Cuba.
Yeah.
Basically, I think some of these Democrats and some of these left-wingers are actually tyrannical, authoritarian dictators at heart. And they're looking for any excuse to impose impose what they would like to see happen to their country. I believe that Trudeau envies China, envies Castro, and some of these dictators. And he's using the thing that happened in Texas at the Robb Elementary School as a way to grab guns from honest citizens. That's scary to me. So.
And I also think what's great, too, is you do such a good job sometimes with very just simple sketches. I was going to bring your attention to the light switch that you drew recently about the economy, just a simple on and off switch. But sometimes that could be effective to get your messaging out.
Absolutely. The more simple, the better sometimes. That is basically, when people look at what's happened since Biden in the last 16 months or so that he's been in office. Somebody once said, not too long ago, I can't remember who it was who said it. He says, it's not fair that we're comparing Biden to Carter, because Carter, it took 4 years to destroy the country, and it's only taken Biden 16 months. And basically what he did, he shut down everything that Trump was for, I believe, basically out of spite. Again, I don't believe that Biden really understands what he's doing. He's just taking orders and reading a teleprompter. But the people that are behind him, hangovers from the Obama administration, which a lot of people believe that Biden is Obama's third term. He's just shut down everything because out of spite, or what is it? I don't know. He shut down the oil industry. He shut down the economy in so many different ways. Taxes, inflation caused by all the spending that he's done. And he was warned about it, and he did it anyway. So basically, the switch is on off, and that is Biden.
It's really great to hear, all the background that goes into all of this, and I'm sure it's what you, hope the people who look at that photo, they can glean that as well. What is your take though on comedy currently? Satire, the angry mobs have come after everyone. I'm frankly just amazed that they haven't. I mean, maybe they have come after you. How have you not been canceled, my friend?
I just don't listen to it. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And I do get, hate mail. I also get encouraging mail. They can waste their time, but I'm not here to adhere to anybody's specific ideals. I'm only here to adhere to mine and how I feel and what I feel is happening in the world today with issues. So I'm not too worried about it. As far as the comedy goes, I really appreciate some of the comics that have the cojones to get out there and bash the woke. I think they need more of it. I think they're going to see more of it. And people are really getting tired of this politically correct wokeness that's penetrating our corporations and our comedy and our I think it's starting to backfire, and I hope it shows up in the next election.
Who do you think is funny?
Boy, a few. Ricky Gervais, I think is hilarious. I don't agree with everything he talks about, but that's the beauty of free country, and that's the beauty of free speech. You don't have to like everything about everybody. Chappelle.
Oh, Dave Chappelle, of course, yes.
I enjoy Chappelle, and he has a lot of courage to get out and say what he says. And again, I don't agree with everything he says, but he definitely has the right to say it. And I think a lot of us have lost that characteristic about free speech. Free speech is there for speech you hate. Because if somebody's saying something you don't like, that means your speech is protected. So people need to really learn what free speech is about. Whether it hurts your feelings or not, you should have the right to say it.
I know you're a well-rounded guy too, Tony, a busy dad and also a musician, which I wasn't aware of. Maybe people are familiar with Tony and the Tigers. Is that right?
Yeah, I retired about 7 years ago from that. I still get out the guitar once in a while and pick a little bit, but I don't do it too much. I've been pretty busy doing what I'm doing.
And I know you have a great website, a book called Make America Laugh Again, came out a few years ago. So your work is all over the place, easy to find. We hope folks will go check that out to learn more about you. But thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it. A.F. Branco, our cartoonist here at Alpha News. Yeah, we do sure hope that you'll keep the laughs headed our way.
I will. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, Tony. And that'll do it for this episode of Liz Collin Reports. We'll be back again next week. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, follow on Spotify, or any other podcast platform. And be sure to sign up for our free daily newsletter on alphanews.org and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.